Welcome to Confessions of a Parent Coach. I'm Coach, mother of four, and potty talker, Ann Kaplan. This is the podcast where I confess something from my own parenting and coaching life, teach a lesson around it, and answer your questions. Even we parenting experts are far from perfect, and the real magic happens when we get down with all that imperfection. We get into the gritty side of parenting here, so earbud up and dive in.
Welcome into another episode of the podcast, listeners. I am excited to be here with you again for another awesome discussion about parenting. And today's topic, I think, is going to be almost pretty short and sweet, actually, because I know that what I'm about to talk to you about is super common. And the second I talk to you about it, you're going to be like, I probably did that this morning. And even though it's this like common pernicious situation that we find ourselves in, the solution to it is actually quite simple. And I always talk to my clients about the difference between something being simple and easy. Simple does not mean easy. It just means that it's not complicated. And this is a perfect example of that. And I'm going to say it's frustrating to hear sometimes because a lot of parenting situations feel really complicated, but most parenting is actually quite simple. It's just really hard to do because it requires us to do our own work in order to actually be able to follow through and execute. So ask yourself, when was the last time you found yourself in this scenario? And like I said, I will not be surprised at all if I hear, oh, this morning. You're in a situation where your child is breaking a rule, crossing a boundary, misbehaving in some way, and it's definitely in a way that you've already told them, like, I don't know, 3 million times that they're not supposed to be doing. And instead of actually, doing something about it, you just find yourself like maybe you're even like sitting on the couch or sitting in a chair and you watch your kid like be nasty to their sibling or, throw their food or, it could be something as simple like in our family, my husband, one of his biggest pet peeves is whistling. And anytime the kids are whistling, he is, well, from any part of the house, he's got like radar for it. And he will, from any part of the house, be like, stop whistling. But instead of actually doing something about this misbehavior, you just are like, stop throwing your food, don't say swear words, be nice to your brother, whatever it is. And you probably say that over and over and over again. It's like armchair parenting, right? You're like just sitting in your lazy boy. And I mean, let's face it, you're being kind of lazy because you're just repeating yourself over and over and over again. If you have never been in this situation before, I have no idea why you'd be even listening to a parenting podcast because you obviously have cracked the code. So, mazel tov to you. But for the rest of us, this is a really tricky situation. I mean, it's the inertia that we're in that we don't overcome the inertia and we just do that kind of literally like lazy boy parenting of like literally parenting from your recliner by repeating yourself, barking orders, saying the same thing. And I mean, half the time we're really being like even kind of even half-hearted about how we're saying it. It's like leave your brother alone, don't say curse words, whatever. But we don't even have any. Well, there's not even any feeling in what we're saying anymore. This is a situation that I found myself in recently with my youngest kiddo, who I really don't care what my kids do with their hair or how long their hair is or any of that stuff. So, really, it's a really great opportunity, I feel like, for me to walk my talk of you're the boss of your body. It's a zero stakes situation, what your hair looks like. But my 10-year-old has literally not had a haircut since last summer. And really, I don't care, except that he keeps putting his hair in his mouth and he is not taking care of his hair. He won't brush his hair. And I'm doing my lazy boy parenting where I'm like, did you brush your hair today? Go brush your hair. If you don't brush your hair, I'm going to cut your hair. And I have been saying that for, I don't know, months now. And he's getting worse and worse putting his hair in his mouth. And my kids, about a month ago, were like, what the heck? My daughter actually came up to me and she was like, I need to talk to you about something. And I'm like, oh, what's about to happen? And she's like, when I was in kindergarten, I wouldn't take care of my hair, and we had fights about my hair, and then one day you just cut all my hair off when I got home from school. And this has been going on for months with Sky, and you haven't done anything about it. And you keep saying you're going to cut his hair, but you don't do it. He's not changing his behavior at all, and nothing is happening to him. And this is, totally hypocritical or whatever. And I was like, oh, you're right. Why am I being so lazy? And I did. I finally took him to the Great Clips and I got him a haircut. And now he doesn't bite his hair anymore. And why did I not just do that like 3 months ago? What the hell? And it was a good reminder for me. And this is a reminder for you. If you are not, this is like the most important rule of thumb you can use to just like check yourself. If you are not physically moving your body when you are disciplining your child, you're probably not actually disciplining your child. When you sit in the lazy boy and say, leave your brother alone, don't say curse words, take your hair out of your mouth, you're not disciplining your child. That's not discipline. What you've done is completely neglect the discipline side of your parenting. And instead, you're trying to discipline through your relationship. And what I mean by that is this like dialogue that you're now having with your child, where you just repeat yourself and your words mean nothing and you don't follow through and you make it really clear to your child that they don't need to listen to you because nothing's going to happen when you talk. This is something that's happening between you and another person in your relationship with that person. It is coloring and impacting your relationship. It is doing nothing for your child's behavior. True discipline is a physical act. That is the take home message from today. Discipline is a physical act. It involves physical movement. It's us getting up off the couch and walking our kid to their bedroom when they curse, for example. It's us getting up and physically taking the phone out of our teenagers' hands when they have broken a screen time rule. It is us actually taking the keys away from our teenager when we found out that they've been unsafe behind the wheel. It is us physically doing something. And whether your kid is a toddler or a teen, it is irrelevant. There is no discipline that doesn't involve action, physical action on our part, even if that action is the small movement of us picking up our phone and going to that app that cuts off Wi-Fi access to our kids' phones, or you know what I'm talking about. These are the metrics that we can use to kind of just check in with ourselves. Like, why is my kid's behavior not changing? Am I doing anything? Am I actually doing anything about my kid's behavior? And if the answer to that question is no, that's your answer right there. The reason why your kid's behavior isn't changing is because you're not physically acting in response to their behavior. And so, one of my things my clients hear me say often is, see if you can fit the metric of one sentence, one action, meaning we want minimal talking when we're doing our discipline acts because kids learn through experiences. Talking doesn't teach. So, one sentence, meaning you set the boundary, or you say, oh man, it looks like you're still putting your hair in your mouth. I'm going to pick up the phone and call Great Clips and make the appointment right now. And that's one sentence, right? Looks like it's time for you to get a haircut because you can't keep your hair out of your mouth. And then I actually do it. What I did was the opposite of that. It was many, many, many sentences, some of which were the same sentence over and over and over again, and no action on my part at all. And as soon as I take action, my kid knows like this behavior is the kind of behavior that creates this outcome. If we're not actually giving an outcome, which is what a consequence is, it's the outcome of a child's choice. If we're not giving the outcome, our kid can't learn the lesson and they can't make new choices. Like I said, short and sweet, right? But check in with yourself. Notice just for the rest of the day today, you've listened to this podcast, check in with yourself for the rest of the day and notice, am I actually physically moving my body in response? Thoughtful, compassionate, kind, calm response. But in response, am I moving my body in response to my child's choices so that they have the opportunity to experience the outcome of that choice? Anything you're doing from the couch is not parenting. I'm sorry. I wish it were. as a parent, I dearly, dearly wish I could parent from the couch. We cannot parent from the couch, no matter how tired we are. This reminds me of a little side story, but when I was pregnant with both my second and third kid, I had toddlers at the time, and I was really tired, as you are when you're pregnant, and I would set up like play areas for them, like in their bedroom, that were super safe. The room was baby proofed and everything, and then I would bring out like a pillow and just lay on the floor while they played and like sleep while they were playing, basically. So that, I guess, that was an example of me parenting from the couch, but there wasn't misbehavior happening. If misbehavior had happened, I would have had to wake my butt up and get my butt up off the floor and do something about it. Even if it had just been, you know, the physical act of walking away. That is still a physical act, right? Let's say my kiddo, while I was napping on the floor, smacked me in the face, or, started doing something like ripping a book. That was a big thing that we had to deal with our first kiddo, was like destroying books. Oh, made me so mad. Um, and I maybe my physical act would have been to say, "Uh-oh, I don't spend time with kids who don't treat their books well. I'm going to go take some space and walk out of the room." Still physical act. Or, "Uh-oh, it looks like you can't handle having all these books in your room right now." And then I gather all the books up and I take them and put them in toy purgatory for a while. Physically moving your body. I can't stress it enough. And the reason why I stress it so profoundly is because it's such a great way. It's super easy. Yes or no. Did I do that? If the answer is yes, then I discipline my kid. If the answer is no, I was probably just trying to do that whole verbal discipline thing that only does nothing to change behavior and only degrades the relationship. So I hope that's helpful for you this week. And I can't wait to hear from you. If you're getting information, if you're on my email list and you're getting information about the podcast or email and stuff like that, reply to those emails and tell me, like, "Oh my God, I noticed this or that," or "I totally disagree. How about this other thing that I was doing?" I want to hear from you. And don't forget that you can always contact me and get your question answered on the podcast. Have a great week, everybody. I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Bye.
The episode is over, but there's more waiting for you. You can grab my free workbook, Getting Kids to Listen the First Time, that walks you through the fundamental principles I teach all of my clients and applies them to this very universal parenting challenge. So if you're sick of repeating yourself all day long or just want to learn more about my style, you'll definitely want to go to bit.ly/kidswholisten. And if you're ready to work with me, let's meet. Set up a free call at bit.ly/Kaplan call, and let's create an action plan that gets you exactly where you want to go. And of course, links to all this goodness are in the show notes. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.